In Bruce Black's book, Saltwater Fly Fishing Along Our Coastlines, there's a nice picture in there of sea lice. I just enlarged that, it's not a very good picture. In his book also, he mentions in one or two other articles, on the left here, this sea lice is in berry. In other words, it's about to lay eggs. They say just a little bit of orange on these flies just seems to be a trigger for the little fish, and you're mainly going to get your large spot pompano, wave garrick, whatever you want to call them, moonfish, right up front. In fact, Bruce Curry has almost become a wave garrick king. He stands in the water and casts up onto the beach and catches these things because they almost lie on their sides and run up the beach with the wave, and then you can see them splashing and go back down into the water again, getting their little bits and pieces of sea lice and whatever. So it's a very popular bait for those kind of things, stump nose, sand stendos, wave garrick, that kind of thing. The fish that live between the mid-break and the shore break are going to pick up those kind of things. Let's get going then. I'm using a 34007 size, and I found it tied in around about a third of the way down the shank from the eye of the hook, just to give it a little bit of weight, and also it seems to give it a little bit of body as well. Should put a little dash of super glue on there just to hold it, but for time wasting point of view, I won't worry. I don't know if you can see very closely on this picture, at the top here, this is obviously the front of the sea lice. You can see there's two little stalks with the eye on, and it's like a little breathing snorkel. A few little strands of white marabou actually work much better, because marabou, as you know, on any kind of fly, just gives it so much movement. Tie a fair little clump in, about probably the length of the shank, and then you can trim that up later as to how long you want it to be. Down to the in line with the barb. And this is the tricky part. I've tried all sorts of things, but this is Swiss straw, or raffia they call it. I've tried an olive one, but it makes the fly a little bit too dark when it gets wet.
You left up the screen, please, right? From the camera.
Where is the camera? You point me, Derek.
That's it.
Open it out, and then halve it, or fold it over, just to do the sort of shell back of it. The tricky part is to get it all lined up at the back of the hook, so that when you pull it forward, it actually all lines up. Looks all right. Just trim off there. And then I raided my wife's sewing cabinets and again, I think I've got most of the coloured cottons in the house under. This is just a cream wool, normal. Well, I don't know if wool is normal. I don't know if you get all sorts of different kinds of knitting wools, but it was a cream wool. And then just wound that backwards and forwards, so that you build up a bit of a body with it. Get the tools out here. Normally 3 runs of the ball backwards and forwards builds it up quite nicely.
Quick recovery.
And then round on the orange up front. I found with a few of the patterns I used the orange egg yarn, that also worked quite well. It's actually quite an easy little fly to tie. And then the tricky part is to get this raffia to come all the way forward. And basically, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, over those dumbbell eyes to form the shell. Type of right close up front. And then I find if that's basically the fly complete, you can pull off the marabou and make it a little bit shorter at the front. You need to give it a coat or two of either Sally Hansen's or some kind of a clear nail polish over the front, because when the raffia gets wet, the teeth of the little fish seem to give it quite a good go, and then it starts breaking, and that sort of shreds in its length. So I found just probably 2 coats of, doesn't even have to be Sally Hansen's, I don't think. That's it. And this, I think with the eyes giving it that little bit of weight, it actually tumbles nicely if you watch it in the water going backwards and forwards. So there it's quite nice and brightly underneath it.